Welcome to the 6 Miles to Supper podcast. I'm your host, Kayla Cox, and I've lost over 80 pounds with intermittent fasting 6 days a week, eating whatever I wanted at my meals, taking a cheat day every Sunday, and walking 6 miles a day. And I'm here to help you on your weight loss journey. In today's episode, I wanted to talk about OMAD specifically. OMAD just simply stands for 1 meal a day. And this is basically a type of intermittent fasting. Basically, it's really as simple as it sounds. You simply eat 1 meal a day. So you're actually fasting for, say, maybe almost 24 hours each time before you eat. So you just, the way I do it, the way I define it, I will pause here to say some people kind of try to say like a really short fasting window is, OMAD. And I would say I like to keep things simple and just say OMAD truly means 1 meal. So that means you sit down, you eat your meal at the table, and then when you get up, you start fasting again. Anything other than that, I would say, be specific and say what kind of window, just so that you are clearly communicating what you're doing. Because it's really easy to have, if you have a longer window to like eat, maybe 1 meal and several snacks, So just for clarity's sake, for me, OMAD means literally 1 meal a day. And I've found this is my preferred way just overall of eating when I'm trying to lose weight. I like doing it in maintenance mode too. Maintenance mode for me is all about freedom though. So I'm not strict with myself. Like sometimes I'll have 1 meal a day. Sometimes I'll eat 2 meals a day, sometimes more. It really just depends on what I'm in the mood for. But I've found that there are a lot of advantages to 1 meal a day, and there are some disadvantages. So in this episode, I'm just going to take you through what my experience has been with OMAD. So first of all, I think the best thing about OMAD is it's super simple to understand. Again, if I say 1 meal a day, you can understand that. And unless, you overcomplicate it, right? Which is the tendency. I think because it's so simple, people are like, wait, it's got to be more complicated than that. And it's really not. It just means sit down, eat 1 meal a day, and you're done. Another big benefit is it cuts down on decision making. I was shocked when I went to 1 meal a day, how much simpler my life became because of just fewer decisions to make. Normally if you're eating, say, 3 meals a day, you're going into the kitchen, you're thinking about what to eat, trying to figure out, well, what I'm in the mood for. And it takes up a lot of mental energy. And then, when you're sitting down to eat, and then there's that whole thing, then you get up from the table, then you got to clean it up. And then, at lunch, you're right back there doing it all again. And, so when you just whittle it down to 1 meal a day, you have many fewer decisions to make. It just makes life easier, in my opinion. One of the biggest benefits I have found is that it saves time, or, maybe it even like creates time for you. Again, because of all that time that you're taking, previous to this, with making your food, figuring it out, making it, and then cleaning up. Instead, you can save that time. And for me in the beginning, this was a huge revelation that like, wow, I'm taking a chunk of time that I used to spend on eating, and now it's like a free time for me. I was at that point in my life where I didn't feel like I could just give myself that time. But when I started doing this, I realized like I can take that time guilt-free, and just use it however I want to, which luckily what I started to realize was I could have done that anyway. Like you don't have to do OMAD in order to just start giving yourself that time. I needed that little crutch though. But you have more time to do with whatever you want. The way I looked at it before was I was spending at least 30 minutes at each meal. And that was, if I was being, pretty quick about it. When I cut it down to 1 meal a day, that was at least an hour every day that I was just discovering for myself. And because of all those advantages, I felt really good when I was doing 1 meal a day. I mean, I had lots of energy, and it was just really simple and made my life better overall. Now, that being said, there are some disadvantages to eating 1 meal a day. First of all, it's weird. If you tell people, oh, I eat 1 meal a day, you're going to get looks, and people can criticize you for doing it. It can seem extreme. I mean, I've had people look at me in a concerned kind of way when I say, oh, I just eat 1 meal a day, because they're not familiar with the idea that, you can eat, a different kind of pattern and you can be perfectly healthy. And I mean, I basically just learned to get over it, basically like I think because I found how good I felt when I ate 1 meal a day. It was not what I think a lot of people think, oh, if you just eat once a day, it's basically like you're starving yourself. And that's not my experience at all. I would eat a really nice big meal and I would feel full all day until, my next meal. So because of that, because of how good I was feeling and that I was losing weight and everything, I never found that kind of criticism really got to me. But of course, I waited until I was pretty much down in my goal weight before I even started talking about this stuff. So that probably helped me. Another disadvantage is it can be tricky when you start eating 1 meal a day to eat enough food. And this is like one of those really interesting things to me about intermittent fasting in general, but especially when you get to OMAD, because previous to all of this, I was obviously overeating because that's how I got obese. But the idea that I actually would need to tell myself, oh, you didn't eat enough at that meal, you need to eat more. I mean, it just kind of rocked my world a little bit. But I did find, and I still continue to find, that there are certain meals that are a little bit tricky. Like things like, for example, rice and beans, I found are really filling at the meal. Like you can feel like, oh man, maybe you even almost feel like you overate, but then the next day, you maybe will feel hungrier sooner than you would have if you ate something different. And I think that's a very individual thing, and it's just a process of learning, like, okay, how much do I need to eat at this meal in order to not feel miserable after I'm done, but at the same time, I want to feel full until, supper the next day. And I always liked to try to find that sweet spot where, if I was trying to lose weight, my weight was coming down, but I still felt full from, the time that I ate until my meal the next day. And I didn't want to have any kind of, like feeling miserable, feeling nauseous, feeling headaches, not sleeping well. All those things I took as signs that I was not eating enough. And I did find that I had that sweet spot. You may find that, OMAD just doesn't work for you because it's just too tricky, or maybe you are the type of person who can't eat a lot at one meal. I'm not that kind of person. I can certainly sit down and put away the food. So it can be a little bit tricky. And on that same note, some people can find it to be quite difficult. And I've seen this the most with people who try to jump straight to OMAD. Like they go from eating 5 to 6 meals a day down to OMAD. And that is a lot more of a transition. By the time I went to OMAD, I was already doing like a 20-hour fast each day. So my eating window was only 4 hours long. But some people will, hear about OMAD and say, hey, that sounds really easy, and they just jump straight to it. Some people, it seems like they have no problem at all, and it's just really easy. And other people, it's like a major thing. So it can feel pretty difficult. I would say if you're really interested in OMAD, but maybe you tried it one time, you just tried going straight to OMAD, and it didn't work out for you, I would just say, go back, start with a fasting window that feels easy, and then push it out gradually, and then you'll have less of a transition period. Another thing that I found was that OMAD is not faster. It's not a faster way to lose weight. I really did think that this would happen. Like I said, I was at like a 24. So that meant, basically I was eating twice, but I thought, man, if I cut it down to one meal, I bet my rate of weight loss will increase. I was losing about 1 pound a week. I thought, man, it's really going to pick up. And I still continued to lose about 1 pound a week. So it wasn't any faster for me. Now, I think the reason behind this is, if you are eating twice, when you eat that first meal, then when you get to the next meal, you're not as hungry. But if you're just eating one meal, then, you're hungrier at that one meal. So I would just caution you, if you think that this is a shortcut to, really fast weight loss, don't do it because of that, because I have found that to not be the case. And the last disadvantage I've seen is a lot of people just don't seem to stick with OMAD. Again, this seems to be the type of person who, they've just been going really aggressively, like they went from eating 5-6 meals a day down to OMAD. And I think what happens there a lot of times is they expect really fast weight loss. So they get really frustrated because they've gone from eating 5-6 meals a day down to 1 meal a day, and maybe they're losing a pound a week, but they think, but gosh, I'm only eating 1 meal a day. So they expect it to be a lot faster, and it's not, which causes frustration, which then causes them to quit. So as you can see, OMAD isn't, this magical, answer for quick and easy weight loss. Weight loss, I think, is best when you can do what feels easy for you and something that will be sustainable, something that you can see yourself doing for the rest of your life. And, like I was saying before, a lot of people ask me, do you have to do this in maintenance mode? Like if you lose weight with OMAD, does that mean you have to do OMAD for the rest of your life? And that was something I was curious to know because, the first time when I lost weight in 2016, I lost down to 157. I then went into maintenance mode for almost a year before I started my YouTube channel. And during that time, I had lost weight with the OMAD, but during maintenance mode, I, experimented with a lot of different ways of eating. I really wanted to see how much freedom could I give myself before I started gaining weight back. So in other words, like, what did my rules have to be for me to still maintain in that range I wanted to maintain in? And what I found was I didn't have to continue to eat OMAD all the time. I could have, 2 meals a day, sometimes 3 meals a day, and just kind of play around with it and still maintain in my range. And then again, in 2017, I decided, okay, I want to go down from 157 down into the low 140s. And so I went about the process of losing more weight, which I did just with doing OMAD 6 days a week and walking 6 miles a day. And what I found there was I was able to lose more weight. And when I got down to the 140s, I decided, okay, I want to maintain here. And I wasn't really sure at that point, how will I maintain? Will I need to only do OMAD? Like, is that what I have to do in order to maintain down in the low 140s? And what I've found is I can still do a variety of ways of eating and that it is okay. For example, sometimes I might have 2 meals a day. Again, sometimes I might have 3. I do prefer, though, to keep it to 1 or 2 meals and I don't snack because I found for me, generally speaking, snacking is emotional eating. So I do try to keep a handle on that. And I should point out also here, you may see it written on the internet as MAD. That just means 2 meals a day. So it's the number 2, MAD, and then OMAD is 1 meal a day. And I've found I can do both of those and still, maintain in the range that I'm trying to maintain in. And it doesn't mean that you have to do this for the rest of your life. But I would say, if it's not something that you can even see doing sometimes for the rest of your life, then perhaps this isn't a good fit for your life. And it really depends on what kind of life you do have. I'm in a situation where my husband and I both work from home. We're full-time RVers, so we have kind of a different kind of life. And somebody who maybe goes to an office job every day and you're around, like people who are eating, lunch together and that's a big thing. It may not be that OMAD is the best bet for you. I would, again, encourage you to look at your life and see if it's a good fit. And I'll also add just quickly here, even though I was eating 1 meal a day, I always did allow myself coffee with half and half 3 times a day during my, what people would call my fasting window. So that's how I would do it. Three coffees a day, and then I would just eat at supper time about 6:30 in the evening. So I love OMAD. I think it's a great tool for weight loss. I've found that I feel really good when I'm doing it, and a lot of people have had a lot of success losing weight by just eating OMAD. And I've always just eaten whatever I wanted at the meal. I don't restrict calories. I don't restrict carbs, and that's what's worked for me. So thank you for joining me in this episode, and I'll see you in the next one. Today's episode was brought to you by my book, The Laid Back Guide to Intermittent Fasting, How I Lost Over 80 Pounds and Kept It Off Eating Whatever I Wanted. To get your copy, simply follow the link in the show notes.